Hello, everyone. This is Big Kev, and we're back on the Throw Zone. This is a little different than normal. We have our first virtual podcast here with Chad Wright, and I just want to let him give himself a quick introduction here on this episode of the Throw Zone.
Hi everyone, my name is Chad Wright. I am 2012 NCAA champion in the men's discus. I went to the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, got ninth, currently on the top five throwers for Jamaica. And I'm currently, I think, eighth in the world right now, but it's early season, but still exciting thing to say.
Yeah, but I'm really pumped that you're able to hop on the podcast, especially getting to be our first virtual one. Unfortunately, we don't have the budget to fly in from Jamaica to Lincoln right now, but maybe someday. But at this point, I just want to give a quick thank you to our sponsors here, Lincoln Mics. They provided the microphones for this podcast. Give them a little check on their website if you need any custom microphone work or microphone repair. And remember, if you pay with Bitcoin, it is 50% off. So keep that in mind if you're in need of any custom work. But now we'll transition. Chad is our first discus thrower on the podcast. So that's exciting. So hopefully people that enjoy throwing discus don't feel left out anymore. And Chad, a fellow graduate of the University of Nebraska, I just kind of want to get started with what inspired you to get into the sport of track and field?
I would say my older brother, Ravi. So he was a discus thrower in high school, and he brought a discus home with him. And he's just like practicing like the bowling action to get like the pull on your finger. And I
Yeah,
saw him do it. I'm like, what are you doing? What's that? And he like showed me, and I just like started playing with it. I think it's just like a toy.
yeah.
And, and that's pretty much how I started my introduction.
So then how old were you?
I was about 12.
12. So that's fairly young. That's a good time. I think here in the U.S., typically right around probably a year or two older is when most of the people out here get exposed with middle school track. So once you got started, did you only stick to the discus, or did your brother also try shot put into the other events?
Oh, he did shot and disc, but his better event was this.
All right. And then were you able to start competing when you were 12, or when did you, or is it just one of those for fun situations?
Oh, I didn't start competing until I was 16.
60. Okay. Then did you just mess around with it for a couple of years, or one of those you just didn't really touch it until that time?
I didn't touch it until I was 16. So like I knew
Really?
of this, yeah. So I knew of the sport because of my brother, but I never got into it until I was 16.
Oh, how many years were you throwing before you decided to come all the way across from Jamaica to Lincoln, Nebraska?
Hey, 16, about 4 years.
Wow. So going from just starting competing and then already, coming to the U.S., what was it like during your process of learning the discus?
It was for high school. So
Okay.
track and field is really big in Jamaica, and the throws are growing. The throws events were really growing here. That it was really not that big, but it was growing then. And it was a big competition between like some of the biggest schools in the island for throws because those points were crucial to win on boys and girls terms.
Yeah.
So like we were locked in to try and get as many points as possible in the throws.
And then was discus your first love, or were you more interested in shot put?
Oh, discus was my first love.
Now, discus, I have a lot of respect for it, but when I first got started, I threw it backwards, almost hit the coach, and they just told me to stick the shot put after that. I always admired the discus, but it was so beautiful to watch it fly, but unfortunately, I never made that happen. But yeah, so then throughout high school, did you know that you wanted to come to the U.S. once you started competing?
No, I did not. So my first year, I wasn't even thinking about like scholarships. It wasn't until I had a meeting with my coach after my first season of throwing. He sat me down and was like, here's our projection for the next 3 years. Here's how it's going to work. These are the numbers you're going to need to hit for the next 3 years. And then like, he's like, these are the numbers you're going to need to get a scholarship to go to the state.
Yeah, so that's a really big goals, especially you compete for 1 year and already have the plan in front of you of what it's going to look like for the next couple of years to get to that big goal.
Yeah.
I guess in that situation, are you someone that's very goal driven?
I'm more goal driven for sure because like I hit every mark he set out for me for every year. They'd
Dang.
like hit this, hit it. Next year you're gonna hit this, hit it.
And then did you play any other sports at that time, or are you just fully dedicated to throwing the discus?
I played rugby for half a season until my coach was like, "Nope, don't want to hurt your shoulders. Taking you out."
Yeah, ACLs are kind of important for the discus, so I can especially see that. And then what was the mark that you had to hit your 4th year for your into your goal at that point?
It was 55 meters.
And then was that with the 1.7 or is that the 2K?
One time.
1.7. Okay. When you got to that point, did you have to reach out to colleges in the US or are you already getting recruited from your competitions?
So my coach reached out to colleges in the US. And when I was throwing 50 meters, they're like, "Hey, you got to get more distance, before we can talk." And my senior year, I threw 58 at Penn Relays with the 1.6. And then
Yeah.
I threw 63 with the 1.7 at Carifta Games. That's when they started calling me.
So what was that mark is when the doors started opening.
Yeah.
And then
They
did you have
started
a lot
calling
of
me.
yeah, did you have a lot of people reach out to you?
I think I had about four people reach out to me, and two gave me full ride scholarship offers.
Uh, So then was that what primarily influenced your decisions then?
Yeah. So two offered me full ride. It was LSU and Nebraska.
And you picked the one with the cold weather and all the snow.
Well, technically, I didn't fully pick it because my mom came on the visit with me to Nebraska, and
Did they
she's
take you
just
to a
like,
football game?
"No, it was out of football season. I went on my visit in May, like right
Okay.
after. I think I came in right after they had conference. There was just
Okay, no.
only one,
Yeah.
so everybody who was there was just like training for regionals.
Yeah, so it was all the big dogs. No, I bet that would be something to see, especially Lincoln in May is probably one of the best times of year. It's like just warm enough that it's not getting super humid yet, but it's still like there's a nice breeze and like everything's green. And then like a couple months later, this gets really humid and downhill from
Yeah.
there.
So they
No.
picked the right time to invite me because they're like, I guess they didn't want me to feel the cold just yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like today, when I left for work this morning, it was -7 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not
Dang.
wind chill. That's real temperature. So it's been rough out here.
I don't think it got as rough as my freshman year. Double digits negative.
Okay, well, you win that battle then. So then, what was it like transitioning to the college system here and having to train and just the whole difference in competitions and overall scheduling?
In terms of school, like being a student athlete, it wasn't that hard because like my last 2 years of high school, it was set up like college where I only had a couple of classes in the day and then training in the afternoon, and that was
That's
it.
awesome.
So like in terms of that, the transition was fairly easy. And then in terms of training, it was different because I had to pick between training in the morning, lifting in the morning, or lifting in the afternoons.
Yeah.
So,
And so when you first came to Nebraska, was it known you're going to have to throw the shot put as well?
oh, I was throwing shot put in high school as well.
Yeah. So you were fine doing both.
Yeah, it's like
And
my
they ever
senior
try to make?
year.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, my senior year, I actually started throwing the 16-pound shot that season and the 2K.
Sorry
And I
again. If
even went to senior trials.
oh, so then looking back, do you think that was a great idea to help with your training and transition into that next level of getting that early experience with the collegiate implement weights?
Oh, absolutely. Like it's something that like when you hit, I would say when you hit 17, 18, yeah, start throwing the big ball.
Yeah. No,
Just
I
be
think that's
careful
a
with the shot.
yeah. Yeah. Shot will yeah, not as forgiving there with your fingers and overall just head health. So I guess that would be kind of important to keep in mind. But no, that's how I was. I started throwing the 16, and I remember I thought it felt just ridiculously heavy, but it was something that I thought was really helpful as well. So I think a lot of people out there that are in that junior, senior year of high school might as well in the preseason give the heavier implements a try and just kind of start building your base up. No,
Get used to it.
yeah. But did you ever have any interest to throw in the hammer, the weight?
Uh, I did not, but I got convinced to compete, and I agreed for 2 meets. I agreed to 2 meets, but like I wasn't throwing far enough to make the squad, so I ended up just dropping it.
Yeah, so took one for the team there. Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Not a super big weight throw guy myself, but mad respect for all the weight throwers out there. But so then throughout the collegiate process, what was your end personal best end of your freshman year?
Freshman year, unofficial personal best my freshman year was 60 meters with the 2K.
Six.
Unofficial. So like I came home that winter for Christmas and I competed in local meets and I threw 60 unofficially. Like we only had like 4 attempts. And it was on my fifth attempt I got 60 meters. Like I asked them for it and they just measured and told me the mark. I'm just like, okay. So
Yeah, no, my freshman year was during the coronavirus pandemic when we
yeah.
had to shut down. And that spring, I went and I was still training on my own. And there's a open meet that happened in St. Joe, Missouri, and that's where I had my personal best my freshman year. And that was my first time breaking 60 feet, and I hit, I think, 62, just about my first
Nice.
18. So no, I feel like those big meets, especially the ones like in like the small environment when you're first getting used to things, I feel like those are kind of magical.
hmm Yeah. And then my shot put, I got what? I think it was like 59 or 58 feet indoors, coming from about 52 feet.
Yeah, that's a huge jump.
Yeah, my strength program was a big help. I got super strong my freshman year.
What was your lifting numbers when you first came in? I know that's something I've seen a lot on Instagram or a lot of those posts about you need to lift this much to go Division 1 in track and field, or you need to have like you need to bench press 300 pounds, or you need to squat 600.
Let's see. My full squat was like maybe 365, 400. My bench was about between 285 and 300. This was my senior year of high school.
Yeah,
Snatch, mm, topped out, I think, at 225, clean 275.
yeah, no, those are all just really solid numbers. And then at the end of your freshman year, do you have an idea where those kind of jump to, just at the new training?
The squat was definitely 405.
Four biscuits.
And then the cleans got up to about 315. The snatch, I think it stayed the same. And then my bench got up to like 365.
Geez. So then, what do you think was the biggest contributor to gaining those huge numbers just after one season of training,
The weight gain.
just in terms of mass gain?
Yeah, because I put on 20 pounds my freshman year.
The freshman 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any certain meals you felt that were you're able to put weight on faster with, or what was or training table got you?
Oh, training table got the steak Mondays. Oh,
Yeah.
steak Mondays.
Yeah, so
Cannot go
for
wrong with
those
that.
who aren't super familiar with Training Table, the University of Nebraska has a dining facility catered to their student athletes. So it's their in-house big buffet, but it's designed for maximum nutritional benefits for the student athletes. And so they would have just large proteins, like you'd have your different steaks and chicken, you would have all these different types of fish. I think we even had lobster one time. I think my freshman or sophomore year, we had a couple of days with that. I don't know if they had it when you went there.
Oh no, they did not.
Oh yeah, so like We had an awesome time. And it's one of those, I say that was probably one of the biggest factors for me when I was getting used to training there was, you get done with the hard day of lifting and sit down, have a steak or two. And it's a buffet. Eat till you're full.
Well, that's not true. And then you get to take some of it home too.
Yeah, they're kind of changing that up. But no, that was probably one of my favorite parts of going to school there. Now, cooking on your own is not as fun, but that's one thing
Yeah, I know.
for people looking to go to school is what kind of meal plan you're going to get on. But
Yep. That athlete support system is a big plus.
yeah, so just like the overall, in addition to nutrition, what all would that include for you?
The academic advisors, they were great as well. They really helped me with my academic stuff when I was
Yeah,
there. And then like the strength coach, Brian Comida, amazing man.
yeah. I never had the privilege of working directly with Brian, but he's now the volleyball strength coach primarily. But I've bumped into him enough that he was an awesome guy.
He is. Yeah, because he was more track and field when I was there, but he was slowly going over to volleyball during my time there.
All the staff there was awesome. But touching back on you said about academics, I always felt it was super helpful to have tutoring and their overall guidance on just assignments. So I felt like I didn't have to worry as much about am I forgetting something, and to where I can go to training and just know I got everything taken care of. I'm getting the right help. And I feel like that just honestly helped me even my freshman year not have to worry about the stress of did I forget to do my assignment, or like, am I going to be prepared for that quiz?
That's true. Did they have the mandatory study hours when you were there?
Yeah, they would lock us up in the glass room. So that was it was actually really helpful, forced you to get stuff done.
It was helpful. And like even when I got out of study hall, I still just went there.
Yeah, no, it's a good habit, especially younger students get back in the groove of things. It's kind of nice to have like a outside environment that's not like your living space to focus on your studies.
That's true. Because I found it even hard to study at home. Like I had to just like go to study hall and study.
Yeah, my freshman year when I was in the dorms, I would never study in my dorm. I would 100% either do it like somewhere else on campus or even in our academic facilities, just so my brain could have that switch into rest and go to sleep and not have to worry about it.
That's true. And it's a great environment. It just forces you to do great and study.
Yeah, so I think that's something everyone can keep in mind if they're looking at going to the next level into college out of high school. Just make sure you get it set up academically, and that relief you'll have of knowing you're taken care of is always going to help out a lot in training. But I guess we'll kind of continue on here. So, did you end up redshirting at all during your time at Nebraska?
Oh, no, I did not.
Just went straight through?
Yep. Hit the ground running freshman year.
Yeah. So then I guess throughout your time, you ended up becoming a national champion in the discus
My sophomore year.
sophomore year. What was that like hitting a massive mark and I guess winning the, biggest competition of the year?
It was a surreal moment, especially after what happened my freshman year at Nat. Because I'm not sure if many people know, the original longstanding coach for Nebraska was Mark Culligan. So he was my coach my freshman year. And he died the night before I competed at Nationals.
Oh, it was outdoor. I was always under the impression it was indoor.
I was outdoor in Des Moines, Iowa. I will never forget when the then distance coach came up to us when we were heading to the bus to go to the stadium. He told us he died.
Yeah, I could not imagine what that would have been like. So in that circumstance, do you feel like you were honoring him by competing, or was it just really hard to even think about throwing?
It was a bit hard going to the stadium knowing that he's not going to be there and like died last night. Like what the hell?
Yeah,
So I'm at the competition looking in the stands and I'm like, I do not have a coach here. He is gone.
yeah. No, I never got to meet him, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about him and his family. And for those who don't know, the university does honor Coach Colligan with the Colligan track meet we have at the Bob Devaney every year, and they bring his family in, and they go and they pick one of the competing athletes at the meet for typically the throws, and they get a big trophy, and it's supposed to be in memory of him, and they pick the athlete that thought would bring the most pride to Coach Colligan. And sometimes that's not even someone at Nebraska. That could be another competitor, and it's just a cool tradition they have there.
It was tough. And then the start of my sophomore year, we started interview before this year started, we started interviewing for other coaches. So we, as the throwers that were there, had the opportunity to talk with all the coaches that are trying to apply for the job. So pretty much we kind of made the decision on who we were going to take.
Oh, that's really unique. I feel like that doesn't happen very much this day and age.
No, I don't think it happens at all now. It's like all the other coaches, Coach Pepin brought us in, and it's like, who do you guys think is the best one? Because they all were really great. Because I know Carrie Lane, she coached Adam Nelson. Coach Crater had Joe Kovac. So those two are the main ones that we liked. And we're just like, we had to sit and have a discussion about it. And then we end up saying we go in Coach Lane. And
Yeah.
it was a good season with her.
Do you have any advice for kids for just like dealing with the emotional strain of losing someone that you felt was very influential, and especially like for guidance in that aspect, and trying to just stay composed while you're competing?
In that situation, one of the biggest things I'd say, write down everything they taught you. Write it down. Write it down somewhere in your phone, or in a book. Write it all down. Write down every technical cue they ever taught you. Bring it with you to practice. And you simply and if you get when you get a new coach, I know they're going to try and teach you their way of throwing. And I know you're going to probably want to hold on and honor your old coach. And that's something you're going to need to talk with the new coach about, like the cues that have worked for you in the past. So that way they can bring together what your old coach taught you and what the new coach is trying to bring.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. But I guess, can you tell us a little bit more about the experience of winning nationals your sophomore year? Were you expected to win, or is that a big upset?
I would say it was a big upset because I didn't come in as the favorite. Like that mark that I hit was a personal best.
How big of a PR was it?
Uh, about 6 feet.
Yeah, that's a serious PR. No, that's awesome. No, did that open up any more doors for your career in terms of like representing your country in competition?
Yes, it did. So that year I got to compete at NACAC under 23 in Jamaica. And then I made an attempt on qualifying for the Olympics for 2012 as well.
Okay. And then for those of us who are unaware of what that competition is, the one you just mentioned, can you describe like what that competition is? I know there's a lot of high schoolers, especially that like we just know, okay, we got the state track meet, we got the district track meet, all these competitions that have like different countries outside the U.S. I feel like are a little bit foreign to us.
Okay, so the NACAC is the North American, Central American, and Caribbean. So that encompasses the US. So it's for the under 23. So you have to be 22 and under to be able to compete at that meet. So most times for most people, it'll be their junior, senior year or sophomore year. They'll be able to compete.
Then was that your first big competition representing your country?
No, I actually went to World Juniors in 2010, my senior year of high school.
I bet that was an awesome time.
Oh, it was an amazing experience. I got fourth in the disc and 13th in the shot.
Oh, that's really good. So then you even having that experience as well as your other experience in 2012, do you feel like those big competitions were a little bit easier every time, just from more experience from the previous ones?
It gets easier mentally on you when you've been competing like that from like high school. So like NCAA's didn't shock me my
Yeah,
freshman year, except outside of my coach dying. The next year I
yeah.
came back, it was pretty much business.
Yeah.
It was all
So
business.
so then, do you have any advice that you would have gave yourself in terms of competing at those big meets, especially just as a younger guy? Upcoming in the near future, we have a lot of little like indoor season championships for high schoolers in the U.S. And I know a lot of the less experienced kids. That's a real stressful time. That's their first time underneath the big lights. Whether that big light is your city championship or state championship.
I would say don't let the moment get to you. It's a big moment, yes, and it's something you want to do. You want to be great at it, but you can't let the moment get to you. You got to just stay focused. Like that same mode you're in practice when you're throwing those big throws, you just got to be able to stay there. Even when the crowd's yelling, the only person you should be able to hear is your coach.
Yeah. I had some great advice. I've always heard train like you fight, whether that means in practice having a high intensity or whether that means a competition, just trying to, like you said, get in that same groove, that same feelings that you're having in training.
Yep. Because like in high school, I had a group around me that even during the off season, every week there's a competition for something.
Yeah. So then,
Every week.
yeah, my previous episode with Peyton, that's something that we cover, where he talked about when he went to North Dakota State for college, that it was a group of people that they were screaming and yelling on all your big sets in the weight room and just had a super competitive environment. And he felt that was something that really helped him grow. And I've had a similar experience with that. Do you believe like having that environment of just people to train with has been beneficial for you, even like throughout your career, not just in that situation?
Oh, yes, it's been greatly beneficial because I remember when I was in Nebraska, my freshman, sophomore year, we had a guy named Luke Pinkelman.
Oh yeah, we got a banner of him.
Yeah. He was just a unit. Like, I remember one day we were lifting, and I'm like, I'm going to outlift him today. I hit the reps, and I'm like, yes. I look 3 racks down, and he has an extra plate on. It was like,
No, and think about it. Like, the competition goes both ways. He sees you coming, he's going to lift more. You're trying to catch up, you're going to lift more. I think that's something that's super beneficial for anyone training, whether it be not even shot put and just like lifting, whether powerlifting, Olympic lifting, or just whatever you're doing. Try to have someone there that you're going to try to beat, but they're not going to let you beat them.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
you're
was
gonna.
one of those guys. He was the one I chased off for shot put. And he was
Yeah,
like a 65-foot shot putter. So I'm just like, I kept chasing him. I got close one time when I got second behind him. And that's when I threw my personal best indoors, my freshman year.
that was your freshman year where you had your personal best in the shot put.
Well, when I threw 18 meters, which is like 59 feet, I think it's about.
Yeah, 59.
Yeah, that's the first time I threw 18 meters with the 16-pound shot, my freshman year.
Well, that's awesome. And then you were on, or at least were on the top 10 list at Nebraska in the shot put for a while, even though, Discus was your baby. But did you ever feel that there was like a positive correlation of throwing the shot put that benefited your discus?
Oh, absolutely. Like, gave me a lot of just like being able to just hold the positions in shot. And then it carried over to my disc. The only difference was instead of punching, I just pulled.
Yeah, if you try to punch a discus, bad things happen. At
Yeah.
least my personal experience, that is. Guess coming out of college with big accolades, did you always know that you wanted to train professionally in the discus, or what did that roadmap look like when you just finished college?
When I just finished college, I wanted to go pro. And my first year out was one of my busiest years in terms of traveling because I got to see Africa, South Korea, China, Japan, just through that one year.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of traveling. Was that then all through Jamaica then, or were you doing some kind of like professional series?
One was for a professional series, and then the other was for Jamaica because I went to South Korea for World University Games. That's another meet you can actually go to as well when you're in college. And then I went to World Championships, my very first World Championships that year.
So I bet that was a great experience. So the World Championships, where was that location at?
It was in Beijing, China.
I bet that was awesome. Was that your first time in China?
Yeah, it was my first time in China. It
Oh,
was interesting
what makes it interesting?
because I've never been that far. It's just like being here, I'm just like looking around like, and I
Yeah,
got to take it all in.
yeah. So then, did you have any like difficulties with a new travel schedule leaving the college atmosphere?
Um, Initially, yes, because the itineraries weren't pinpoint accurate like in college. So like they had their own mishaps. I remember flying to training camp. We had a delay of like 3 hours and we had to sit on the plane the whole time.
Oh, that's always the worst.
Yeah. But like they didn't even let us come off the plane. So it was that kind of stuff that you didn't plan for to
And then
happen.
during that time, were you coaching yourself, or did you have a coach back home?
No, I was working with 2015, I was working with Coach Lang.
Okay. And so, how important was it having a coach during that journey of just finding your own routine and getting used to the new series of competitions?
It's a big part because you don't have that huge support system of the college where they're like, okay, here are the meets you're gonna go to, and here's your travel itinerary, here's your schedule, here's when you leave. You'd have to start doing all that yourself. So like 2015 was the year I really learned how to do all of it. And then like
Yeah.
20, I got better at it, planning my own, my meets and stuff. And then like every year after that, just got better, easier and easier to me.
Better and better with time. Yeah. And so, I guess kind of moving on here, as you trained professionally, eventually you made it to, I guess, the biggest like pinnacle of the sport, making the Olympic team back in the 2020 Olympics or 2021 or whatever the technical term for that competition was. What was that like making your first Olympic Games?
An amazing experience because I've been trying from 2012. So I tried for 2012 Olympics, I tried for the 2016, and each time I got closer and closer to making it. So 2012, I was 12 centimeters from making the Olympic team. Then,
That'd be heartbreak.
yep. And then 2016, I had a back injury that messed up my technique. So I was like 45 centimeters off from qualifying. And then 2020 came around, I qualified at home in Jamaica, and then COVID hit. So, and then I had to refocus for the next year
Yeah.
and
So
throughout COVID.
yeah, one thing I really admire, Chad, is that you never gave up. Like you had your dream and you were close. I feel like so many people, like just especially coming off a Olympic year, that they were so close to making it, and they're in that feeling right now of I have 3 years until the next one. Is it worth continuing on? Uh, what kept you going during that time?
I was just resilient. I just refused to give up. It was something I wanted to do. And no matter how hard it got, I kept thinking to myself, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make it. Like, there's no way I'm going to get that close and not make it.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. That's something that I believe should be implemented, no matter if it's making the JV team and not varsity, not like going to the state track meet, going nationals, making the travel team, whatever it is. You no matter how close you get, you just got to keep going. Like the next time you're going to get it, you have to believe in that.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially coming off of the COVID pandemic, how greatly did that affect your training routine?
So after they made the announcement that they're going to postpone the Olympics until they figure out what's going to happen with COVID, I stopped training for like 2 months. Like, no throwing, no nothing. Like, and I felt lost for a while up until my coach reached out to me and he's like, hey, you got to start training again. So I got back into it. So like that February before COVID hit, I threw 66, 54. And by, I want to say May, I was at 63 after not training for 2 months. So I took March and part of April, March and part of April, then trained for like 4 weeks, and then got back into it through 63. And I'm just like, I think to myself, every time I think about that season, I think to myself that I could have thrown way further than 66. And the thought of that from 2020 drove me to where I'm now. Because I'm like, I'm definitely not at my peak yet.
No, that's awesome. I just really admired just your commitment and drive to improving. I guess during that time, was there anything that you felt was super beneficial in your training, whether that be different strength training routine, like an exercise or a certain tool or way you would work on recovery?
The biggest thing for me was my recovery. Because like, I didn't work as much during COVID. So I could just like hit the gym hard, hit the throws hard. So like at the time during COVID, when I started back training, I started with the overweight implement. I didn't throw the competition weight for like the first 6 weeks, but it
Wow.
wasn't super heavy. It was just like heavier than the competition weight, enough that I had a feeling.
Yeah, not a super heavy, but heavy enough. And then I guess one thing we haven't really brought up on this podcast are the benefits of throwing different weighted implements. What do you feel you can get from throwing a little bit heavier than your competition weight?
Well, I can speak on what I've got from it is
Yeah,
specific strength, like especially in my shoulders and my torso, to be able to like try to get all the positions like it's the competition way. Granted, like it throws you off a little bit. That's why my coach had different weights. So he had from 3K down to 1.9, 1.8.
yeah. No, I
And he
think
like
I
had
always
small
was a fan
increments.
of that. Yeah, it's also super important. It's also helpful for throwing the heavier implements that it forces you to slow down because you can't get as much like speed just for the weight. So you have to think about positioning. And I know that's something that always just kind of drove me a little nuts thinking about like you can't just go. You have to like let it happen.
Yeah, you have to just hit the positions and it's not gonna go far. That's one of the things I had to accept that it's just not gonna go far.
Yeah, no, I always thought heavy implements were super great training tool.
Oh, they are. They're really great training tool. I I still do keep them in my training bag now. But it's like something I would do. Like if I have like 2 weeks out from a meet, I would take the first week and I'll throw slightly overweight. And the week of the competition, I'd go back to the conference.
That way your timing's all squared away for that.
Yep. And it's never too heavy. So it's like easy to go back and get my timing together.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of touching up on the whole little part of recovery. How big has nutrition played in part of that? I've gotten a couple of DMs recently, and so I thought that would be something I'd bring up.
Your nutrition's, yeah, it's gonna be a big part of it, especially as a thrower. Like most people think as a thrower, you can just eat whatever you want. And I'm here to burst your bubble. You can't just eat anything you want. You gotta be a little
Unfortunately.
more meticulous with your diet.
Yeah. And then is there any things that you look for in terms of do you track your macros at all or have any just like general rules for yourself that you think are
I
beneficial?
have general rules for myself in terms of just my portions, mainly because I work like 7, 8 hours a day. And then I train afterwards. Sometimes in between jobs, I train. So my food intake is high.
Would you be able to speak a little bit more just about the extra parts of having to deal with you have to have a job in addition to training? Because I feel like a lot of people get done with college and that whole shock of like a full work day and then trying to train afterwards. I know, and just I'm done throwing now, but just going to the gym after work sometimes and knowing, oh, I have to squat after like a full day, like that's just another whole level I feel like a lot of people are kind of have to get used
Yeah,
to
it's not easy
right away.
because that's what I go through now. That's what I've been going through since 2018, where I have to squat after a work day, and it's not easy. And you just have to plan your day accordingly. So like most days, I will have a midday nap, and during that nap, my feet are up. above my heart.
Yeah, that's smart.
And most times when I take a nap at a track meet, I always put my feet up. I've been doing it since college, where I always just lay somewhere I can put my feet up so they can recover.
No, that's a really good idea. I should have taken your advice earlier. Moving forward, do you have any advice for anyone out there that is looking to become a professional at the end of this season?
Time management. And as you go into the professional ranks, you're gonna have to think more quality throws than quantity, especially if you work on trade.
No, I think that would be very important, especially once you're done at the university. All the healthcare of trainers, your different physicians, chiropractors. Those aren't free anymore, so it's one of those. Just you have to be extra careful, because a little setback could take a couple days, might take a week or more now.
Right. And I would say learn all you can about preventative measures while you're in college, like how to take care of yourself before you go pro. Like that was a big thing I didn't realize until I left. And I was lucky enough that I got a job at a gym here in Jamaica. And so I learned a lot more about physiotherapy stuff from the physios that work in the gym with me. So I knew how to fix myself or prevent injuries during that time.
Yeah. Do you have any just overall one or two major tips that you would give out that you think people would benefit from that are just associated with common injuries throwers get?
Um, Stretch your hips every day. Hips, hamstring, and quads to stretch your lower body and your back every day. Just don't be a couch potato on your rest days. Actively do something. And then
So
if
then
you do
what's
it,
your thing to do on those active recovery days?
um, most times I'd say go through your warm up that you do for a competition in terms of like how you jog, how you stretch. Just go through that and then you're done. Or swim. That was a big thing for me in the last couple of years, swimming.
Yeah. No, that's always a great recovery tool. And then a thing that we've covered in a couple of our recent episodes here is we've talked about different activities outside of throws. Like a lot of people, I feel like they kind of get obsessed with one thing and they kind of put all their identity in that. And people have a hard time getting out of, if one thing goes bad, the throws, it's really hard to get out of. And I know a lot of people have another area that they're also passionate about. And would you be interested in sharing any of your hobbies or interests outside of throws?
So my new hobby is weightlifting. Uh, and I took it up mainly because I accepted the fact that I was getting old and I won't be able to like power through having shitty technique for the lifts like I was when I was younger. So I started to clean up my technique with my coach, and the president saw me and just like, hey, you should come do weightlifting. So I took it up. I competed in Dallas for weightlifting last year. Was it last year? No, the year before last year in 2023. I got fourth at that meet, Dallas weightlifting championship.
That's awesome.
And then last year I went to a meet in Barbados for Jamaica where I won my weight class.
No, I don't think I could ever get into weightlifting. I don't have the mobility for that, but that's always something that I feel like a lot of throwers can transition to, whether that be like in your case of preventative maintenance on injuries, or if it's just another activity that's entertaining outside of throwing.
Yep. And I'd say don't be afraid to try other sports, Like throwing is not gonna be your entire life or your identity. Like eventually you're gonna stop and you're gonna have to find something else to do with your life, you know? So don't be afraid during the off season. Go play basketball. Go play beach volleyball. No?
Yep.
Go
And
do
find
something.
things and yeah, enjoy life. But yeah, I guess we're kind of start wrapping things up. Do you have any advice that you would give to any aspiring throwers out there that are looking to just improve themselves, whether that be getting to the next level from high school to college, college to pro?
Let's see. Be a student of the sport. So just like how you study for an exam for a certain subject that you're passionate about, if you're passionate about throwing, you should study. Like read up on all the coaches and what they've done with their professional athletes, what college coaches have been doing. Like this generation has so much access to information now through social media that it's it's gonna be in your face most times. And I'd
Yeah, like
say,
there's a bunch of stuff out there for people looking to get more info.
yeah, because like Dane out of garage strength always posting stuff that is really helpful. You know, coaches like him are paving the way from the social media standpoint to get the information out.
Exactly. And that's something that this platform is even going to be doing is we're going to try to do a good job of just sharing different sources of content out there for the throwers to learn. Like you have a garage strength post a lot of content. Coach Kovacs, the Throwvacs, they post a bunch of really helpful drills and just overall like breakdowns of what they're doing. Even a bunch of the collegiate throws pages like USC, they're always posting drills and other.
Oh yes, they are.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's just like even if you're just a little middle schooler getting ready for your first track meet, there are all these places that you can follow on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and just sort of flood your world with free knowledge and information.
Exactly so.
Yeah,
What else I'd say? Be bold. And if this is something that you truly want to do, don't let anybody talk you out of it. It's like one of the biggest takeaways I have now at my age is looking back at all the people I competed with in college and looking at how many of them are retired. Like they're just done. They've had enough. And some of them are looking at me like, why are you still doing it?
yeah. Only you are in charge of you.
Yeah. Well, you're in charge of you.
I think that's really, really great thing to hear for everyone that's looking out there to still compete. Like no matter what you're gonna do, there's always gonna be someone out there that's gonna give you the cold shoulder or tell you you're crap, you're not good enough to do X Y Z, and you just gotta shut them out and just keep on improving yourself and just you'll get to the next spot.
Yep. And lastly, you're gonna need grit. You're gonna need some grit to get through this, especially if you're in it for the long haul. Like you want to go to professional level with this. It's gonna take grit.
Yeah, I always talk about throwers are scrappy. We don't have all these professional leagues that are gonna have like the NFL where you have all your training facilities and these giant their games or just have almost 100,000 fans and throwers, we're just like, all right, sick, a piece of concrete. I can throw my discus here. Or, oh, the weight room only has a cage. I'm going to figure out how to use some weights in this barbell and hit all these specific strength exercises. Like the sky's the limit for the throws.
But I love how this generation of throwers are getting more notice. Like recently saw the video from the indoor shot in Germany, 20,000 people. I'm just like,
Yeah, someday, hopefully the U.S. has something like that.
well, that could happen. That could easily happen like next weekend if they wanted to.
I believe it. Like, if you think about like just the last couple of years, like how many, like my fiance and I were just talking about this earlier today, of just like in like North America, how many of like the best shot putters in the world are here right now. And like, if you're not familiar with that niche of the throws, like you wouldn't know like how awesome that is.
It's
Yeah. So
true.
I'm hoping that someday, we'll see like maybe a professional league for the throwers, as these other big sites are starting to get rid of a throwing events, the world championships. That's actually what kind of helped inspire me to make this platform, is just trying to help spread the story of how people get started, and hopefully more people will be interested and grow the sport, and we'll have something that, people just dream about from the previous generations.
It's true. And like one of the things I've noticed, even in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like that meet is becoming like a staple, in my opinion. Like,
Oh, the Throwstown.
yeah, Throw Star Ramona, it's a
Yeah,
staple now.
no, it's
And I feel
awesome.
like, if there's ever gonna be a throwing league, there has to be one of those meets there. That
Yeah,
has to
that
be one of
place
the
is
places.
on there. No, I think that that would be a great place. Think like the with the world record just being there, and even they have a ton of high school meets there. Like even like just open meets.
Oh yeah, because like they have like I think starting March, they just like have a meet every weekend, like Saturday and Sunday. I
Yeah,
know last year, guys from Europe just came over for an entire week.
yeah. A friend of mine, Connor Bell from New Zealand, I think he came out for like a week or two, or Australia. I get mixed up on that. I apologize. But no, he said he came out there for a couple of weeks just to get a few comps and kind of just enjoy training there.
And Nick Percy went there as well. That's where he qualified. He qualified the weekend before the World Athletics meet.
Oh, well, I guess I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, he was there before, qualified, and then came back the next weekend to
Wow.
compete again.
Yeah. But I guess, anyways, Chad, I guess we'll wrap things up here. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I'm really excited that you're able to make it with just your background and just talking about the grit you have of you like you never gave up. And that's something that I feel like your story needs to be shared a lot more with people out there in the throw space or just even in the athletics world of you never take no for an answer and you kept going and going until you got to your goal. And I'm really just happy to have you on here and share that.
I'm glad to be here and I can share my story.
Yeah. But anyways, I just want to thank everyone else who are tuning in to the podcast here. Please make sure to give us a follow on your favorite streaming platform or give us a subscription on YouTube. We really appreciate it. And I guess that's all for this week's episode. And tune in for the next one. But peace out.